Hello and welcome to another video from PlodWare. This particular video is going to focus on the PlodWare SQLite OLE program, and particularly how we can enter text to the program, how to input text from a file, how to handle long lines, and what I call indirect input. Indirect input is where the long line is effectively buried inside a string, and we find a way to give that string to the command line interpreter. The relevant URLs for this presentation are ripetech.com, which is my general website. Underneath that you'll find some PlodWare PC applications, and one of those applications is the focus of today, the SQLite OLE program. There are basically three ways to input text to the program. Possibly the easiest way is just to type a single line of text into this line here, which I call the basic SQL line. It can take, I think, something like 2,000 characters, but gets a little bit inconvenient to do it that way. The other way to input text is here, where in this field, we can put multiple lines of text, either by directly typing the text in, by copying and pasting, or even if we've got a file, we can drag and drop a text file and drop it in here. There is a limit, though, that it appears that this type of edit control can only accept 64,000 characters. If you have a script or a text file that's bigger than that, then I recommend that you drag and drop the file onto this green catch execute text area. Right, this is the current executable. These are our three areas. Here, where you can put a single line of text. Here, where you can put multiple lines. And here in the catch execute for the drag and drop file. Right, I want to tidy up a little bit to get rid of the clutter. So we can get rid of this line, clear this area, and we'll set this to be the report field and clear that. There we are, everything is empty. And now we're simply going to put some text in. Let's put some text in a simple command such as send a text string to the report field. Good old hello world. Report used in this way will take a text string and add it to the current report field. Either click here or ideally do an enter character, and there's our text. If you wanted, you could have multiple command lines on a single line. What I mean by that is if we have a command line and then terminate it with a colon, we can now give a new command line, such as we'll create a message field. Hello to you too. And if I run this line now, we should see hello world being written here again, and also a message pop-up field. There's hello world again, and hello to you too. So that's where we've put in a single line, but with multiple commands on the line. Personally, I don't use this command line too much. I'm going to take a copy I tend to use this edit field area simply because I like to have a better view of what I've been doing in. And we'll now add in a command to empty the report field. If we give it an empty, treat it as an empty function, then this will go to 0, to all clear. I'm going to do a bit of a trick now. I'm just going to select that text and then right click with the mouse, double right click, and it allows us to execute the current selection or execute this field from here onwards. I'm going to execute the current selection, and this field has been cleared. I could put the mouse here, double right click, and say execute from here, and then it'll do the following lines to the end of the text field. Hello world, hello to you. 2. You can also do a drag and drop. I've got a text file here. I'm going to open it with a text editor. It could be that the editor will open on one of my other screens. Let's see what happens. I've double clicked. There's the edit. And I can take text from here with a Control C and Control V, cut and paste. New script throws away any current variables or user-defined functions. Dim is a dimension command, a typical basic, to create a variable with the name index, predefined with the value 0. And here we've got an example of an if, else, end if command. Let's run it. 0 is not bigger than 0. What's happened? So if index, which is 0, is greater than 0, then message says it's bigger, else message says it's not bigger. Okay, well, let's try it with a different value of index. Let's put in here a value of 9 and run the 9 is bigger than 0. What a clever little program. I can clear that and then show, here we are. Let's just change it a little bit so you can see that something's happened. There we are. I'll save it. Now I'm going to drag and drop onto catch execute. 0 is not bigger than 0. Index is 0. Okay, let's change it again and make it 8. Save. Drag and drop again. 8 is bigger than 0. So that's using drag and drop of a file. I do have some scripts that I've generated with around 3,000 lines, around 100k text characters, which I've drag and dropped and run them here. In this area, this is limited because of Microsoft's design. It's limited to a maximum of 64,000 characters, 64k technically, I think. I found a few times I've had a file with about, or a script with around 2,000 lines, and I've found a few times that when I've run this script, or scripts of this size, that the end of the script doesn't execute, and that's because the 2,000 lines exceeds 64,000 characters, and then it only executes the first 64,000. And that caused me an awful lot of confusion until I found out that there is this 64k limit. Right, let's go back. There is an issue of how can you encode these text files. It's a bit technical, but basically, if you're using ANSI text, there is no problem. If you're using UTF-8 with the byte order mark, there's also no problem, or Windows likes to use on my machine. It's an Intel system. They use 16 bits per character in Little Indian format, if I remember correctly. What am I on about? What I mean is, I tend to do most of my editing using Notepad++. And there you can have a file and you can change the encoding. In this case, it's at UTF-8. UTF-8 is fine for most things. The problem is sometimes if I do a lot in German, if you include some characters such as the umlaut characters, then they may not appear correctly on they may not appear to the SQLite program as an umlaut. They appear somewhat strange. When that happens, you have to come in here, check the encoding, and maybe even convert it to UTF-8 with byte order mark, and then take a copy of the text. Bit confusing, does happen if you find that characters are, especially by when you're doing something like a string and you're displaying the string, and the string contains umlauts. If you get a weird character sequence, check your file encoding. Long lines. I've got 3 ways of handling long lines. Now, the point is the traditional Visual Basic application approach is if you want to have a long line, then any line that is to be extended should have at the end of the line an underscore character, and it will concatenate consecutive lines as long as they've got the underscore character at the end. And the very first line that does not have an underscore terminates the line. Now, I'll try to take a copy of that text. And we'll go into the program, copy it across, message, this is a long line of text. There is a space by the looks of it. Let's have a look here. Let's make the characters font a bit bigger. How am I doing that? I'm holding the control character down, the control key, and rotating the mouse wheel. And yes, there is a space there, and there is a space there. Let's see what happens when we execute that. This is a long, looks like a double space, long line of text. Okay. This is the traditional Visual Basic way of doing long lines of text. Let's see what else there is. You can also create a long line by concatenating strings. Now, I'll try to take a copy of the text. And let's go into the program. Copy the text. Create a variable called myString. Populate it as a string saying this is a long. And then we simply take myString and extend it with this string concatenation function. Operator, sorry. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And then right at the end, message equals string. So let's execute. And there we are. This is a long double space, long line of text. This is an easy way of creating a long line, but you notice that in this case, if we wanted to do something with this line, we have to still give it to some form of function or command, in this case message. Message equals my string. It might be that you say, well, why can't I have message equals in the string? No, I'm going to actually do that now. I'm going to put in here, let's create message equals, and then the syntax of message says it requires a quote before the string, and immediately we're in problems because we've got a quote inside a string, which as such is allowed, but only if it's escaped. This must then vanish, and the closing must also be escaped. I'm going to, now if I run this, there should be an error because my string already exists, and trying to dimension or create a string that already exists is an error. So let's click yes, invalid dim command. So I'll take the dim call out and simply say take my string and make it so. Execute. Now the question is, what does my string look like? So let's have a look at my string. My string says message equals, this is a long line of text. But now, how do we execute this command embedded in a string? This is where we come into the indirect text command input. There is a trick, and the trick is to simply say take the CLI function, which takes a single string parameter, now this executable, when it comes to variables, is quite friendly. It does not demand uppercase lowercase correctness. It will accept my string with uppercase, with lowercase, mixed as you like. It'll still recognize it as my string. Let's execute it, and it created message, this is a long line of text. There is an oddity, let's say maybe even a feature of this program, that if a function requires a single argument, you can either provide it in this form, command, and then open brackets and the parameter sequence, but if it's a single parameter or a single argument, you can use, a simple equals. Now execute it. This is a long line of text. Right, that's two ways of inputting, let's say, a long line. There is a third way, which is my preferred way. I don't think you'll find it in other programs as such. It relies on two new functions, the greater and the double greater than commands. The way you use it is, well, let's take a copy of the text. I'll take a copy of that part, Control C. Let's go into the program. Let's get rid of what we had before. And insert. Right, I'll make it bigger. Any line that starts with a single greater than behaves exactly the same as setting a variable called free string, string, equals this is a long. Not a good day for typing. Okay, this is the behavior of this command is to take the internal predefined variable free string and whatever follows this character until the end of line will be inserted into free string. And now when I do this, I can see there's a space at the end of the line, so in reality that's what happened. If there is a double greater than, then anything immediately after the double greater until the end of the line will also be added to the string. So effectively what would happen, I'll just make the area a little bit bigger, move this down so we've got a little bit of more room. So then next would actually be something like free free string equals free string concatenated with long line of, let's just check what's at the end of the line. Oh, 2 spaces. What's at the beginning? 1 space. Okay, so these 2 lines are equivalent to that. Right, let's select that area, right mouse double click, execute the selection. Can't see anything, but then it's only put information into free string. Let's see what's in free string. This is a long line of text. And once we've got free string, we can submit it to the command line interpreter. Okay, didn't work. What have I done wrong? CLI equals, it's not my string, it's free string. Of course, there is no command in here, so let's add a command. Let's have another look at free string. We haven't executed it. Let's execute. Have a look at free string. Free string says message, this is a long line of text. Now we've got a command, message. Now we can use the command line interpreter. This is a long line of text. So that's the 3 ways to get long lines of text into the program. And we've used these indirect inputs. We've used CLI. CLI always takes the string, looks at the first token or the first word, if you like, on the string and decides whether that token belongs to SQL or whether it belongs to BASIC. Well, actually it decides, does it belong to SQL? If it does, the entire string is given to the SQLite interpreter. If it doesn't look like an SQL command, then it's given to the default BASIC interpreter. SQL is identical in function to CLI, the way it behaves, except it always gives the text string to the SQLite interpreter. Right, that's enough for now. It's time for PlodWare to have a rest. Until the next video, goodbye.